It is 6:30. We have a quorum. We'll call the planning board meeting to order. And those in attendance for the planning board is myself, Jim Maximowski, Bill Dwyer, Kishore Parmar, Mark Dunn, and I don't see Josie on Zagrodnik on here yet, so hopefully he'll join us. First up, Mr. Dwyer for general information.
First in was Jennifer Robichaud for Dunkin' Donuts.
Hi, William.
Yeah, let me make that adjustment.
Hoping you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Thank you. So as soon as you allow me to share.
Hang on a
Oh,
second.
no, it looks like I've got it.
Okay.
Are you seeing it? I'm
Yes.
substitute tonight for William, who was out of town. Bear with me, but can you see my plans?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So it's my understanding that the concerns of the last meeting were that this sign be dropped down to be no higher than the existing, which we took care of that as soon as possible. And this sign was to be externally illuminated, the cup sign, and we added a little pen light for that. So that's what Bill indicated was a concern. We've made those changes, and here we are.
Remind me, please, of the street address for this.
331 Russell.
Okay.
Anybody, we kind of went over this last time. Any other questions different from last time or more questions, concerns, comments?
I think they've addressed our concerns.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion a second. Any other discussion or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mark Dunn, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Maximowski, aye.
Parmar, aye.
And Josie has not joined us yet, so that motion passes with one absent.
Greatly appreciate your consideration and you working with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Take care.
Next, we have a group. We have Beth Reddish, Yad Sahal, and Julio.
Hi, everybody. We're here as a group. We're here with Julio for Julio Landscaping. Julio was at a meeting, and I think the concerns were, I know the concerns were around basically the presentation of his business, Julio Landscaping, which he's looking to get a business certificate for. He is just starting his business, and he does not have any employees or clients and won't be requiring any signage or storage of equipment at his home. He simply needs to get his business address so he can open his business account. And when his business grows, he will address at that time moving to another place or the next steps moving forward. He does have 2 trucks currently that are his at the site. Julio, am I missing anything?
Remind me what the site is, please. Address.
Julio, what is your address?
87 Russell Street.
87 Russell Street?
Yes.
Okay.
So you said both that he is not actually doing anything, but he has trucks. So that was the confusion we had earlier about what this site was going to be used for.
It's being used for his 2 trucks, and that's where he lives. He just needs his business address to open his business bank account, but there will not be, it's not a client-facing, clients will not be coming in and out, employees will not be coming in and out and parking their cars. It's just, will simply remain as it is.
And that was Valley Landscape, you said?
This is Julio Landscaping.
Julio Landscaping.
And can I just speak for a moment, please? I did speak to Beth today, and unfortunately, when Julio first came in, there was a big misunderstanding of how he was presenting how his business was going to be. And so Beth came in today, so we reiterated everything. And he is not going to have a sign now. He knows that if he decides to have a sign down the road, that he is to go in front of you guys. So there's just these small little things that were just very unclear. And a lot of it was just because of, lack of the communication and the understanding when they first came in. But other than that, so I believe they live in the house, and they're his trucks that they use every day. And it's him and I believe his cousin. Yes, it's cousin. And so that's all they're going to be doing there. We just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be like where Hasty Fence used to be, and that landscaping company that we ran into a lot of problems with. So right now, that does not seem to be the case.
Okay, I mean, if it's just gonna be 2 trucks and Mr. Julio and his cousin and no sign, I don't really think you need anything from the planning board. It's just a matter of clarification. Pretty much right, Bill?
Yeah, I think that's fine. It's a business district. Residential uses are allowed. And if he's not actually making any exterior changes and not doing anything more than just parking his work trucks there, he's not going to bring it home full of a load from one job on the way to another or anything.
That's not the plan, no.
And and there's no employees, correct, either? It's just
It's Julio and his cousin.
okay, so there's not like employees coming there and getting in the trucks and they're punching in, punching out.
No.
Okay.
I mean, thank you for clarifying.
Absolutely.
That helps everybody a lot, and it's basically painless, almost. A little bit of a delay. We apologize for that, but at least it's clear now. And like you was told, if you come back with a sign and more employees, or you expand, you may need to come back and see us. But at this time, you're good with the planning board. Go to see the building inspector, town clerk, whatever you need for your business certificate. You should be all set. Good luck.
Yeah, Beth. So we will, as we spoke, let Jessica know, the town clerk, and she'll issue that for you guys tomorrow.
Thank you. And thank you for your help today, Dee Dee. Appreciate it.
You are more than welcome.
Thank you for your time.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
You're
good
welcome.
evening.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Next in was William Wands from Graphic Impact Signs.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here tonight to talk about East Hampton Savings Bank at 100 Russell.
Okay.
I believe all the documentation was sent over last week, but let me share the screen here.
It's 100 Middle Street.
Oh, is it 100 Middle? I have that, or 100 East I have on my
100 East, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
100 East.
So here's the signage. Basically what it is a refresh. So we have this new sign proposed here and the existing to the right. So just really a paint job and a logo change. The sign structure is not changing at all or size. And on the building, same thing, just a refresh of the logo. The amount of square footage is not changing, just basically a touching up.
All
So-
illumination will stay the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, technically, I think your building sign is changing a little bit because we do ask that the for the smallest rectangle that will fit all of the features. So by putting that tree in, I think you're within limits previously, but you're making it a little harder on yourself by putting in the tree. But I think that
would still be within the limits.
I think it would still be within the limits.
Yeah, 4x6 is 24. If that's ballpark, close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty close. Yep.
I mean, it's actually less than that, but that's fine. Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the sign package.
have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion or comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, roll call vote.
Dunn, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Maximovsky, aye.
Parmar, aye.
Zagradnik, still absent. Motion passes 4-0, one absent.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
There was one other, Jackie Pliska sent in a lighting plan for Weinzick Produce. She's not able to make it tonight. It was, remember the first time we saw it, we just had some, looked like some pads on the building. We didn't know what was going to go there. I did send it around to everyone. Did everyone get it? Do you remember seeing it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I would, I don't think it's perfectly exactly what we're looking for. So lighting the sign, not lighting the yard.
Yeah, it looks like it's all gooseneck down lighting.
I don't have it in front of me. Do you have the address on it?
Let me see.
$66.
Doesn't give an exact address on the email you sent. It was sent around 2:35 yesterday p.m.
Yeah, let me see if yeah, she just says Route 9.
Yeah, this is Route 9.
Let
me see if I could Google it real quick.
It's somewhere around, I'm gonna guess, Weinsteck Evergreen is 166, so they're gonna be probably somewhere around,
It's when you Google it, it's listed as 180 Russell
I'm
Street.
gonna say right around 180. Okay.
And then I could look it up real quick in GIS.
I think we actually approved the signs last summer.
Yeah, it looks like it's listed as 180 Russell Street.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve gooseneck lighting.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Mr. Dunn? You're muted, Mark.
Dunn, aye. Sorry, I was driving through a cell-free zone.
And Dwyer, aye.
Maximovsky, aye.
Parmar, aye.
Motion passes 4-0, one absent.
That concludes the unscheduled business.
Okay, well, it's 6:44, so we have a minute. We did get an invoice from PVPC for the last payment for this fiscal year, $5,181.48.
$5,181.48.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to pay PVC.
I would second.
Motion and second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Dunn, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Maximovsky, aye.
Parmar, aye.
Motion passes 4-0, one absent. And that makes it to 6:45. So I believe, I want to butcher your name. So
So I had put Alan St. Hilaire on the
oh, yes,
as the first one up,
okay,
and I had explained that this will be our first take on this as the administrative review. I will say, just as sort of warning, we did not send this out to everybody we usually send things out to, but this will just take care of zoning issues. This is not a clearance for anything that requires approval of other boards or agencies. So if the fire department has some concerns, they'll take them up with you separately. And likewise, DPW, we're not stepping, and Conservation Commission, we're not stepping in,
Or the Board of Health.
Board of Health,
Yeah.
Conservation Commission, whatever. We're not stepping on anybody's other jurisdiction.
you are on SOAR, is that correct, Mr. Hilaire?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Just by way of introduction, my name's Alan St. Hilaire. We have a proposal to construct a protected use ADU under the state zoning law change, and it is public sewer and public water. That is right.
Okay. Just so for your information, the zone amendment that was approved, the Attorney General says that the zoning cannot dictate utility connections, water, sewer, electrical, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But local municipal boards may dictate what kind of connection. In other words, can you tie into the house? Does it have to be separate? The select board is having a meeting tomorrow night to discuss that exact issue at their select board meeting. Maybe you're aware of that, maybe you're not. And because, we just want to be uniform. What is it going to be? It's up to those boards to decide how they would like to do it. I mean, there's discussions of which way is better. That will be up to them to decide. The DPW superintendent is supposed to be there. If it was on septic, Title V already pretty much has regulations on that, as confusing as they may be. But there are regulations for Title V, but septic and town water are, well, we'll have to wait and see what they decide tomorrow night.
Yep, understood. I'm aware of that meeting.
Okay.
And I think that's probably a discussion for a separate meeting, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. And that's out of our jurisdiction, which, to be honest, we're perfectly happy not having.
Yeah, right. One less thing to worry about. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're set up to share your screen, or do you want me to share mine?
I'm all set up to share the screen.
Okay, go ahead.
So bear with me. I'm not a regular Zoom user, but I think I can get my way through this here. Let me know if you can see that. That is the site plan.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So the existing situation is the two-story dwelling that is 2,350 square feet. This is 2,496 on the site plan measured to the exterior. It's 2,350 measured to the interior. And there is a story and a half garage and a driveway and 4 parking places. We are proposing to add 2 parking places in the east end of the parking area here. And we understand about the fire department regulations. I met the chief out there. We had a discussion. We came to an agreement that's reflected on this site plan with the fire department access lane. The fire regulations require an access lane to within 50 feet of the closest door on the structure. So that is why we're showing this 35-foot dimension, to show that it's within 15 feet closer than it needs to be. The water sewer connections, of course, will be resolved tomorrow. And the proposed structure is a single story The setback, which is closest to anything, is double the requirement at 30 feet. Front setbacks over 150 feet, shown down here at the bottom of the plan. Setback to the north is just under 74 feet, and to the rear, it's half a mile away. It's 156 feet to the rear of the property. It's a very, very big lot. Best I could read the tea leaves, doing all the deed research and all the old surveys, there was a proposed subdivision, I think, in the 1980s in the middle of this chunk of land that never happened. So they deeded a bunch of property to the perimeter property owners, and it's been sitting vacant since. So, right now we have a proposal to connect to the outside sewer line. I understand that'll be reviewed tomorrow, and that may change. The electrical connection is going to come in on the overhead service that's there and then go underground. It will be on a separate meter. It will be on its own panel. Everything will be separately metered there for electricity. It's just a crawl space foundation, so we're just going down about 3 feet. And what else can I tell you about it?
That's for zoning, that's good enough.
Okay.
Obviously it'll be, long-term rental, there won't be any short-term rentals.
That's right.
And that pretty much satisfies zoning.
Okay.
I'm just looking through the restrictions we have, and I'm not seeing anything else. Yep.
Everything else in the town bylaw didn't seem to be of any particular issue. We've already got, by whether it's erroneous or not, we've already got the building permit, and we would like to move forward on that. I know we had to come before you tonight before we could do that. We would like to move forward on that as well, as long as there's not any other questions or concerns.
Yeah, this was a quirky little one, and technically you probably shouldn't have gotten the building permit. The building department thought they had to issue it because 30 days was passing, but I think you may be the only person affected by this quirk. When the Attorney General's office finally did approve the bylaw, the approval was retroactive to the date of adoption. So that would have been October of last year. So technically you were subject to this, but it kind of slipped through the cracks in there.
Sure.
And then one thing, my little soapbox thing here, our requirement for parking affiliated with an ADU was stricken down. Since we offer no municipal parking and no on-street parking, I think the Attorney General's office did not understand the reasoning behind our requiring at least one parking space. But obviously, in this case, parking is provided. So were you within half a mile of a bus stop, you arguably would not have to provide any parking, but what works in Somerville does not necessarily work in Hadley.
Right. Yeah, I think it's close. I think the closest bus stop is down near Home Depot or over at Big Y. But, the parking issue, I think, is if you've got the space, why not put them in? I would never propose no parking spaces if we've got the room, and clearly we've got the room. From our experience with the rentals, sometimes folks have cars, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they share. So it varies year to year, but to have them, especially at this site, we think is prudent. I've also done a lot of reading on the Attorney General and the Municipal Law Unit, and they're coming out with a lot of those reviews for every city in town, and every city in town has different things in them. So that's been a really great resource to see, what the Attorney General is going to enforce and not going to enforce. So that's out there.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons it took so long for our bylaw to get approved, because when they proposed this ADU about a year or so ago, many towns and cities in the state scrambled to pass something of an amendment or a whole new bylaw. And the AG was just deluged with these things when they finally got approved in the fall. And they've been scurrying, for lack of a better term, to get everything approved. And it took them an extra, well, for 6 months.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. I have kind of a procedural question. I've heard there's a change in the building commissioner. Does anyone on this call know when that's taking effect and who I need to reach out to for inspections on this project?
It is effective presently. The new person started. I want to say they started last Monday.
Okay.
So just contact the building department. Same number you always did. Well, not the same. If you had someone's cell phone, just contact the published number for the building department.
Understood. Okay. All right. But as of this meeting, no concerns from the planning board about moving forward.
Correct.
No.
I mean, yeah. I'll issue a simple note that says we've approved this for zoning, but it'll still be subject to approval of all of the boards, obviously, because there's a whole bunch of other boards that'll need to look at something like this.
Yeah, of course. And I don't know if you need anything official from Mr. Spanknable, but we did meet and he did express that he was okay with it. The building permit does say that it's contingent upon that. So I think that's covered. And of course, I'll be tuned in tomorrow to the select board to see how that shakes out. As far as plumbing and electrical goes, it's all single family plumbing and electrical code. So I don't expect it's no different than building a single family house. So I don't expect any wrinkles there.
Do we need any kind of a motion approval on this, Mr. Dwyer?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
What I think I will do is I'll work up a variant. I had that form we'd send around for what waiver of site plan approval means.
Okay.
I'll work up a variant of that for what administrative approval of an ADU means. But I don't think we need to make a motion. I think if anything, we'd make a motion to say that it doesn't satisfy. But since it does, just send a sign off.
Okay.
Okay.
So does the administrative review not include elevations, anything like that?
He has that.
Oh, I didn't
He
see
had
it.
for that, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, in the original email, Bill, there are elevations in it.
Yeah, I can share that if you'd like, but
That would be great.
it is in the plans. Yep. One other comment that I just wanted to put out there. I know that the planning board was talking about setbacks for these ADUs and whether they would apply to the single family or whether they would apply to an accessory structure. The Attorney General's office actually just ruled on that for the town of Canton on June 4th, saying that it's the more permissive regulation. So it would be the accessory structure setback. I didn't get a chance to dig into the Hadley zoning law to see if there's a difference between the primary dwelling and an accessory structure, but the AG did put a ruling out on that for the town of Canton. So I think if Hadley wanted to better control that, maybe there's a way to change the setbacks for the accessory structures over a certain square footage, maybe a square footage that's bigger than a garage or a shed that would capture most of these. Because I do think that you don't want them right on the property line, but it seems like in the AG's eyes right now, they would be the same as a shed or a garage.
Yeah, but the only problem is the way we define an accessory structure might make it unique. We specifically define an accessory structure as being incidental to the main use of the property. So we're not sure, and I hear what you say. We're just not sure if our definition of an accessory structure would matter.
Right, got it.
So but we are considering changing dimension. But that's a whole other discussion.
Sure.
Okay. Very good.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good luck. See you tomorrow night.
All righty. Have a good evening.
Okay. Is it?
PVPC is up.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. So I am again filling in for Kyle tonight, in his absence. So he'll be back in just a couple of days. But I'm here tonight. I know that I sent to you, Jim, along with the invoice, a contract and draft scope for planning board assistance for fiscal year 2026. And if you've all had a chance to look through that, what I was told by Ken was that the idea would be to kind of look through the scope in particular tonight live and kind of review what's there. Because I think a lot of it is really just a holdover from what was in the scope for 2025, and items that may need to be continued into fiscal year 2026, and any new scope items that the board is interested in including.
Just quick question. So I don't butcher your name.
Oh, yeah.
What's the proper way to pronounce your name?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for asking. It's Aiden. It's Aiden Hemian McMahon.
Aiden?
Aiden, yeah.
Aiden, okay.
Yep.
Good, thank you.
Sure, of course.
Yeah,
So-
I mean,
I'm sorry.
obviously if you would, the preamble, which is all the clauses, is pretty much standard from prior.
Yeah.
And at the very end, it's kind of what we're working on, and then it leaves a lot of room for other things to be put in there. So I mean, I think it's fine. But I'll let others speak.
So why don't you pull the scope up for?
Yeah. I can share my screen. Should be, let's see. Share. Okay. This. Oh, are you seeing it?
Not yet.
Oh, hold on.
Here we go.
Can you see it now? It says attachment A at the top.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Okay. So here I don't know if you want to move to the scope right away or if you want to take a look at the contract, which is, as Jim mentioned, fairly standard. But I mean, it's the same as last year's contract, frankly, with some minor changes, but.
Yeah, I think that this is our, maybe at least our 10th year working with you, and it's actually longer, I think. So yeah, we're comfortable with the contract terms themselves.
Okay. So yeah, so I suppose full disclosure, I'm not fully aware of what has and has not been completed on this, since I know you've been working with Kyle, primarily at least. So I guess we're starting from the top here. Planning board rules, regulations, and policies. Finalized Hadley Planning Board administrative rules and regulations, including quote standard conditions, unquote, for special permits. Final document being the anticipated work product. Is that something you'd want to leave in
Yeah,
here?
we'll leave that on. It
Great.
is not completed, but
Okay.
it is well underway.
Okay, excellent.
And likewise, the permitting guidebook, Kyle had a few blanks to fill in. So again, well underway, even if not completed yet.
Okay, great. Okay, good. So we'll leave both of those. So 3 here, zoning bylaw, housing related zoning regulation review and updates. The anticipated work product being amended zoning bylaw language or subdivision regulation that consolidates and standardizes language, specifications, and requirements to align with Hadley and best practices in housing and land use policy.
Yeah, I think that's more a placeholder.
Okay, yeah, certainly.
That we're frequently looking at such things, but
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we can leave that too. And inclusionary zoning bylaw review and update.
So we have an inclusionary zoning bylaw. This is again sort of a placeholder. Every so often we go back to looking at payment in lieu of providing affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
And we've never been able to settle on a rational formula for that.
Hmm.
But again, this is primarily a placeholder.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. And then we have master plan implementation. I mean, that also seems like probably a placeholder. That's very,
Well-
very general.
Well, it was actually something we were hoping to work on a little
Okay.
more diligently, but everything else sort of piled up on top of it.
Sure.
We do have it's almost 5 years old now, the update to we had the master plan about 15 years ago. We updated it about 5 years ago. There's a nice chart in there about who's responsible for updating what, and tackling what portion of the recommendations. But it's not self-enforcing. No, there's no one there prodding people to do it. So that's where we come in, and we're willing to do that. Some things require perhaps DPW regulations. Some things require select board action, and it's just sitting on the shelf for now. So it's a little more than a placeholder. It is something we would like to make more of a priority. It just hasn't been as hot a priority as some of the things we've been wrestling with over the past year.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you want to change the language to this at all, or add anything to it?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay.
We know what, well,
You know what it means, or what the intent is. That's clear enough. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Number 5. This is just provide technical assistance as needed.
Yep.
That's the one. That's the one that fills in most of the blanks for us.
Right. Yeah. That's the catch-all. Okay.
That's the one that suddenly pops up as a problem that becomes our first priority.
Yeah. I can imagine. That makes sense. And number 6 is just attendance. So if there's anything else that you think ought to be included, happy to make live edits here.
No, I think that's fine for now.
Okay.
I know that Ken Comia a few years ago did comb through the old files, and we had a list of priorities that some of them have just been dropped because they were just never hot enough priorities, at least at the time. And that is something, I don't know if I can find it, or I think it was Ken who put it together for us. Just work goals from past years, and that would be if you could lay your hands on that.
Yeah.
Just to take a look at it, maybe share it with us. I'm sure I have it somewhere, but I don't know how. I don't know how far down it is in my email, but it can put together something like these were the scope of services goals from the past 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And there were some interesting things on there that I had forgotten about, and that we might want to take a second look at.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll ask Ken about that. Hopefully we can locate that for you.
Would updating our zoning map, would that fall under number 5?
Yes.
Okay.
5 or 6.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 5. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is it should we have just loose dates on some of the deliverables, work products, or no? Is that not necessary? Or anticipated dates of completion?
I think it will make more sense maybe when Kyle is back. And I don't know if you're going to continue to work with Kyle or you're going to move on to other things. I know that 1 and 2 were close to being ready. I don't know how much time Kyle is going to need to get back up to speed on them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got pushed back. They didn't make it far into FY25 before we got into the 40R, and that
Right.
sort of consumed all the oxygen in the room. So
In a good way.
it did, but it took all the attention. So I would say that I don't think it's a bad idea to have some targets on 1 and 2.
Okay.
But I would defer to Kyle to set those when he gets a chance to evaluate what needs to be done.
Okay, sounds good.
Right.
Okay, sounds good. I will. Yeah, Kyle will be back. I believe he'll be back after tomorrow. I'm not sure if I have that right, but anyway, very, very soon. And yeah, I believe my understanding is he's going to be taking back the lead here with planning board assistance for all of you. So I'll make sure that he's aware that we're looking for some rough dates on these items.
The other date related, we had set aside the first meeting of the month, the first Tuesday, for planning related business, and then had the third Tuesday for our permitting function. And that got thrown off a little bit, partly because of scheduling on your end, partly because of some special permit hearings we had to advance into the spots. We should have a discussion about whether we're going to be able to go back to whether the first Tuesday is going to be a good target for our monthly meeting, or whether the third Tuesday would be a better target for the monthly meeting.
That might be better to wait for Ken to come back Kyle to come back, see what works best for him, and then see how it fits with us too. With joint agreement.
Yeah, so as you're doing, just flag that for him that we'd like to have a plan here.
Okay, sounds good. Put it as a comment.
At the moment, we don't have. I don't think we have any pending applications in the pipeline. So we're flexible, but as things come in, we'd like to be able to say, basically 6 weeks in advance, either you'll be when will we see you in 4 weeks or 6 weeks?
Sure.
So
makes sense.
So we just want to get ahead of the curve on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that sounds good.
We have the proposed contract in front of the planning board. Do we want to approve it?
I'll make a motion to authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the planning board.
Second.
Motion and second. Any comments or discussions? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Dunn, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Maximowski, aye.
Farmer, aye.
Motion passes 4-0 with one absent. Very good. We'll get that signed off to the town accountant, and they'll give it back to me, and we'll get it sent to PV, get it off to PVPC.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aiden.
Mhm.
Anything else for PVPC?
Aiden, are we on tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, we are on tomorrow, Mark. Did you get a chance to take a look at the template?
I have not. I was away.
That's okay. I think the plan is
I'll open it up tonight.
yeah, I've got some draft language that I've started for that, but I think it makes sense for us all to kind of sit down and look through it together to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then I've got some prompting questions and some draft language, but we can go over that tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
That was 40R committee.
Any updates on 40R?
Our next meeting is tomorrow. So
Okay.
we're pulling together the end of the public input and moving forward from there. So
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. Other items. Anything else for Mr. Adam? No? Okay. Well, you're free to listen to us if you want for the rest of the meeting. Or you can
Okay.
sign off. Thank you for attending.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aiden.
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Let's see. Next is discuss the Historic Commission letter regarding the senior housing overlay district that we received. The how would I say this? Under site plan approval, the planning board used to unofficially utilize the historical commission for architectural review. And they did that for quite a number of years. And probably what about 3-4 years ago, Bill? Maybe give or take?
Yeah.
They gave us a letter that said that they were no longer able to do the architectural review within the village overlay district. And that's fine. So, they were never listed as officially part of the site plan approval to do that, but we did it as, it was in the historic overlay district, and who better to approve or review architectural review than the historical commission, and they did a fine job. We thank them, and they decided that they weren't able to do it anymore, so we just took it on ourselves to do it. But now with the senior housing overlay district and building size requirements and stuff, they have voiced some concerns, and it's unclear if they want to be part of the review process again, or if they just have some comments. I couldn't quite distinguish that from the letter, Bill. Could you?
I could not. I wasn't sure if they were concerned about the process we went through in adopting a new bylaw or the potential consequences of what might come from having adopted the new bylaw. They did invite us to attend their meeting, which is next week, I think.
Okay.
I do know, Jim, I did go back and just check the bylaw that they are supposed to, Historical Commission is supposed to get a copy of a set of plans. They aren't, they have no formal role in reviewing them, except that they're welcome to make comments on what they get.
Okay.
So if the concern is the size of the buildings, there's other buildings that are of that size in the historical district along Route 9 too, correct? They haven't built afterwards.
I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen the plans exactly for the proposal for the Village Barn complex yet. So, I mean,
I'm just thinking, so, with my understanding of what we've done, I believe the town place in the suites that we did was in the historical district
It
too.
is, and
Yeah.
it meets the
Footprint,
footprint requirement.
yes.
That building is the largest building that could be built in the Village Center Overlay District, except for the whatever authority we have in the senior overlay to allow something larger. Also, the limit was clearly specified to be on commercial structures. So there's Tom Reedy had pointed out there's a little bit of vagueness there about whether a large residential development would be subject to the same rules as a large commercial development. But I think we've addressed that. If what they're saying is they want more input, well, everyone's welcome to comment, and they will get a set of plans.
Yeah.
But
Okay, well, I'll find, let's see.
I'll take a look for the Jim, and maybe you and I or one of us
Yeah,
can drop in.
yeah.
I think it's a Zoom meeting.
I'm just trying to find out, going into the town website right now, see when the meeting is. Give me a second. Park and Rec.
Yeah, let me check too if I can find it.
I don't see it tomorrow.
They do not have it posted yet. If they have a meeting, it's not up there. Unless it's in July.
Our next meeting on Tuesday, June 24th.
It's not posted
Okay,
yet.
it's not on a town calendar. Okay,
They give it time.
7 p.m.
It's on,
okay.
yeah, it's not. I don't
I
see
can make a 7 p.m. meeting on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be posted until Thursday.
Okay.
Oh, it's on the town calendar. So it is on there for departments and boards and committees, room reservations. Let me see where it says. Just doesn't say where it is, but strange. It's on the calendar, but it says Historic Commission
Yeah,
7 to 8.
202 was in the town hall.
Oh, 202. Okay. All right. So it's in
Yeah.
room 202.
Well, they are going to, but it's going to be a Zoom meeting, so they just haven't posted yet. There's nothing posted for the 24th yet.
Okay.
So, if it's something you were interested in going to, that, we just have to be careful that we don't want to have more than 2 members.
Right. We don't want to have a quorum there.
Well, if it's more than 3 of us at a location, it's one thing, but if it's 3 or more of us at a meeting to discuss planning board stuff, that's a whole different topic. And that's a more open meeting violation. Like when we went to
Your grand opening.
grand opening, there was at least 3 of us there, but we weren't discussing planning board items. I mean, in a small town, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But you avoid discussing planning board issues. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
But because this will be specifically discussing planning board issues, if there's going to be 3 of us, it's if I can't make it, but if, let's say, three or more of the other members that would like to go, it's just going to be posted, and that's fine.
Are you saying you'll not be able to make it?
I will not be able to make it next Tuesday.
Okay. I will try to make it, and I will let them know that I will try to make it. Kishore, if you want to come, that's
Yeah.
fine. I would say mainly we just want to hear what they want to hear going forward.
What their concerns are, or what they want to see going forward regarding when we have projects that come across our table.
Yeah, and we'll remind them politely that they said they weren't. So the other part of it is part of the reason that they said at the time that they were no longer interested in actually reviewing the designs was that they were having trouble getting a quorum. They only meet once a month, and a project would come in, and they just couldn't get a date with the historical commission where they could even make a presentation. So it was just structurally not working. And again, they're entitled to a copy of plans. They just aren't, they never did have a formal role as a design review board. We have no such thing. We are the design review.
So do we know if Diana has been getting plans sent to her?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have sent some plans out. Everybody's been getting noticed of the public hearing with a location of how they can access the plans. Whether or not they've taken advantage of that, I don't know.
And it's reading the letter, it may be that they're purely concerned about the village center overlay.
And sometimes our hearings have simple set of drawings that can be sent in an email with a small, single digit number of megabytes. And sometimes it's you have a link to like a box site or something where you have multiple megabytes of data, and so yeah.
Many of the plans we've gotten recently, except for a small mom and pop store, if you would, have been quite involved. And probably some people try to go to the website, especially when it's a remote website to sign into, and it's probably too much of a hassle for them to get into, and they probably don't take the work that it takes to get into them, because sometimes you got to sign in and on and on and on.
Yes, somebody had their information on a website that we had to join or something, and I think you pushed back on that, and then I think they used some more universal site like Google or Box or something.
So, okay.
Is there any chance that the town would give us a site like that so that people could just download them to our site, and then everyone in town that wants to look at it could just go to our site?
Yeah, so there is Jennifer is working on changing the hosting platform to a different one.
Okay.
And it is the new platform is the same one East Hampton uses. I forget the name of it now. And I did find it very easy there. They have the capacity of they basically, as something comes in, they open an electronic file on a server that is open to the public.
Okay.
So you can just navigate your way to the planning board, and then you can see all the filings for whatever project is in front of us.
Yeah.
I hope that that feature will be brought forward. Northampton has a similar capacity. It doesn't work out all that well because Northampton lets people, there's no naming convention. So anybody who has authority to access the site to put anything on the site can call it whatever they want when they put it on. So some things before the Conservation Commission, depending on what department they're coming from in the city, are called different things.
Yeah, from experience, that's a disaster.
Yeah, so is there a naming convention that Jennifer's going to adopt or we're going to adopt between all the different boards?
I think working with Kayla, we can work up something. And I don't know whether it's even on Jennifer's radar to be aware of that, because they have an internal program called Board Docs, which does give them some of that functionality already. So that, for instance, if you see on the agenda that they are taking up a resignation of a DPW worker, and if there is a letter of resignation, that letter of resignation is adjacent to the agenda item on Board Docs.
Oh.
So you can see. Or if, for instance, tomorrow night they have various policies they are abolishing and adding. And you can see what those policies are by clicking on Board Docs. You go to the Select Board page, Board Docs, the meeting agenda, and the supporting documents are there.
For a naming convention for us, it'd be I would think it'd be pretty easy. We would simply go by the address of the place.
Correct.
So that wouldn't be too bad. But I have worked in other places where it's not as straightforward as we have. And one person names something, that person moves on, somebody else takes their place. They have a different mentality. And like Bill says, because they don't have for lack of a term, a strategy to name, somebody else calls it a little bit different. Well, over the course of a few of these, go ahead and do a search, and good luck to find what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's what PVPC is having right now, trying to find our zoning map. Because the person who worked on it, I don't think is there anymore, and they don't know what they saved the file as.
Yeah. I mean, you try to put yourself in their mentality, and sometimes, as long as they're consistent, it's okay. But sometimes one day they think one way, 6 months later they think another way, and holy moly, it gets to be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. Okay. Anything else?
Let's see. We do have, we're looking forward to fall town meeting. Town council has offered to suggest draft some changes to the ADU bylaw to conform to the Attorney General's comments. And I did have, we still keep the change. We actually should have mentioned that to Aiden, that the potential of changes in parking requirements might be something that PVPC could be helpful with, because I don't want to reinvent that wheel. If we're going to do it by anything other than the 2-for-1 standard, there are a lot of possibilities out there.
Yeah, and I also know the smart growth, we've also parking requirements has been brought up too. So it might be something you could tackle at both times when you're looking at both things.
Yeah. Just for everybody's information, we've got to be a little bit more aware, for lack of a term, because we have 2 square feet of parking, and that includes the drive aisles. For our parking, there is at least one location in Hadley that has extremely wide drive aisles for their parking area, to the point that it makes the parking lot inefficient and not enough parking for the businesses that they have. And their customers are parking in an abutting business location that is not theirs. And there's cars getting towed. It's causing trouble for the parking area that doesn't have this. And the owner is supposedly, that of the area that has inadequate parking, isn't doing anything to try to correct the issue. So we've got to be a bit more aware on the parking when it's designed, to make sure that it's appropriate use of the parking space area. The good news is that this company, although the landlords that aren't doing anything or much to address the parking, may need to come back to us in the not too distant future for change of use. So we may have some authority to get it addressed. So, let's see. Anything else?
Other than that, no, I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Affordable Housing Trust. Is that on our agenda? Can we talk about that at all?
It's on there, sure.
Okay.
It's on there for discussion, not for any action per se.
Right, right. Did we want to talk about, I think we mentioned at some point, do we want to propose that CPA might make a donation to that every year or so? Or invite them, that if they have adequate funds, to donate some under
Well,
their housing.
Yeah, we know they'll always have adequate funds because they have no applications or very limited applications for funds from that set aside.
From the housing, right?
They've got, there's a decent pot of money there.
Yeah.
Do you have some possible future ideas of where we could be spending it, Mark?
I don't, but I think that's something that we could ask Kyle, Kyle or Ken, if we've talked about with in the past, as incentives, or, I don't know. I mean, can we use that to, I don't know, what can we incentivize when someone's doing a development to get them to build instead of pay in lieu, to get them to add a unit, to get them to add something to the units? I don't know.
Those, yes. To answer your question, yes to most of those. Okay. It's a matter of, how much do we have to give to them? What would it take, obviously, to negotiate and get something else from what's being proposed? And those are all, I mean, it's all about building affordable units.
Right.
It's not about, maintenance and those kind of things, but if you're genuinely talking constructing or modifying to make something affordable, then the money could be used for that.
I don't, it occurred to me, we could use it as an incentive to get them to extend the term of the affordability. But if we do that, then there's a kind of a counter incentive for them to come in with a low ball. Oh, my units are going to be affordable for 10 years to get our compensation up. So I don't know. Maybe that's, do we have any minimum term of affordability?
My 2 cents in perpetuity.
That's our goal.
That's our goal.
But in the past, we have some which are sunsetting. So have they been like 30-year?
They were probably 20-year. They could have been 30-year. But we'll see whether they actually get to sunset or not.
Right. Okay.
Since they went in under the comprehensive permit process, it's but for the comprehensive permit, they wouldn't be there.
Right.
And so if they drop the comprehensive permit protection, they are non-conforming at the minimum.
Right.
So that was something our current town council flagged for us from a case out of Wellesley, where the court basically said the town was not party to your agreement that when you bought the property from the prior owner that you plan to take it out. And but for 40R, you wouldn't be here. So
right.
No, you're not going market rate. Again, there's areas, for example, Barry Roberts' project, if he has to provide a minimum affordability component, but if he was willing to offer to provide a greater affordability component, what is it, 15%, 10% minimum, 15%?
15% minimum, but if you go to 20%, then you can get almost all of the units considered to be affordable
in a rental.
Yeah.
But if he was willing to say, I am willing to make this 30% affordable, then the Affordable Housing Trust Fund could help defray some of the cost of his infrastructure. There's no clear standard. It would all be negotiable.
Yeah.
So there's no formula for it.
No.
We haven't developed a formula because we've had no inquiries.
Yeah.
So going back to Mark's point, I guess, should we start looking at having one so we're not taking advantage, or it's the fund's not taking advantage of?
We could. The problem is we tried to work up a formula for something as simple as it sounds, payment in lieu of building your site, your affordable units on site. We had looked at, I don't know how many different formulas, and anything that seemed fair to the developer wasn't much money for the town. Anything that was much money for the town was unfair to the developer. And it got to be, it was just extremely confusing and complicated.
I think since we have very little experience with this, we've only actually had we've only had 2 requests to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund during its existence. And one was a request to fund a rent support during COVID. And we agreed to that. We never got an application, and we ended up undoing it after COVID. And the second one was in connection with the Econo Lodge conversion. So we just haven't had a developer ask us. And so when we did try to do something like, as Jim was saying, like the payment in lieu, I bet we burned 6 months, 6 to 8 months of
PVPC
discussion, just going around in circles and not coming up with anything. So I do like the idea of having some standards, but I think unless and until we get an actual application in front of us and we can see how that would play out in a real life situation, we're just playing what if games.
Yeah, there's just too many variables with that. What's the size of the unit? What's the value of the land? What's the, there's just, yeah.
It got to be overwhelming just for the simple payment in lieu, even though it sounds simple. It's not like TDR, transfer development rights, that the state has a set formula for. And even that is very flexible. It depends on a number of things. Some places, some farmers were getting, X amount. Some were getting 2 or 3X amount for the property. So, there's some complexity involved in this.
When we did create the senior housing overlay district the first time out, and I think you heard me say this before, that the first 10 years that we had it, we didn't really have any participation. Once Barry Roberts started putting together East Street Commons, he came back to us at least twice to say, there is a formula here that won't work. And once he pointed it out to us, and I forget specifically what they were, I could go back and dig it out, but once he pointed out to us why this particular language didn't work with this other language, oh yeah, we see that makes sense. So we did go back to town meeting, I'm going to say twice, to fix things that just in the abstract, we worded it, we put it together with PVPC. It looked great, but when you actually try to make a project work on the ground, there were these stumbling blocks that couldn't be overcome. So we listened to him, went back to town meeting and said, yeah, we just have to change this to make it workable. So yeah, let's.
And I do think that we asked Kyle to look and see if other municipalities had a formula, and I don't think he came back with anything after a month or two.
For payment in lieu?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we had talked to
Ken had some stuff.
Ken had found some. Ken had worked with some.
Maybe it was Ken, right.
He actually did get us some formulas.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Well, I guess that actually says something. I think we were even working on this before you joined the planning board.
Okay. And that's been what, 6 years? Yeah.
Yeah. So Ken had come up with some formulas, and they were all over the place, sort of a mixture of. We went into this sort of open-minded. We'd like to have it be a realistic choice between payment in lieu or providing units. But as Jim said, some of the payment in lieu were really pretty steep. I think you may have seen in the Gazette what Mr. Roberts paid in Amherst to not have to put affordable units in the building he's leasing to Amherst College. I forget how much it was, but it was a breathtaking amount, like $1 million.
It was in 7 figures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's sort of an example of someone who wants to, yes, we'll do payment in lieu, but we want to encourage you to actually build.
Yeah, I remember when Mr. Sorsinski took his run at it. We had a discussion when we threw our hands up and said, you can either, it's never going to be perfect, and it's either going to favor the developer or the town. So, and I know I said I would rather encourage them to build. So I'd rather have the needle lean that way. But I don't know that we ever voted on that.
That's why recently, luckily, the way the bylaw is worded, it's the planning board's option to approve the payment in lieu.
Hmm.
And that's why the last few people that have come in, including the new latest proposal by Barry, we've told them, build them on site. We don't want payment in lieu because it's just couldn't find a fair way for both the developer and the town. Whereas if it's built on site, it seems to be the better option for everybody.
Wasn't there an attorney from Amherst that gave us an earful about
Yeah. And he I gotta say, he was mostly correct. That, what we were doing was confusing and it didn't seem fair for everybody involved.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I have nothing else.
I have nothing else. Anybody else have any?
That's it.
No, that's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Dunn, aye.
Where I.
Max Zamaski, aye.
Farmer, aye.
Motion passes 4-0.